The Team Fortress 2 community, like all communities online, is mostly fine. You have your average mix of cross-dressers, white nationalists, furries, just generally very gay people. You have some kind of overlap between those groups. You can imagine a beautiful Venn diagram of just contradictions there that's really awesome and beautiful to see out in the wild. These are just kind of the normal factions of individuals you see walking down the streets of any Discord server nowadays. But once in a while, you get someone who isn't your typical weirdo. You get someone who is a little bit more depraved, who has potentially done something a little bit more dark. Someone who should probably just get off the internet and maybe face charges for something they've done. I did a video around a year ago on the other channel, the Turkey Tom channel, where I covered some of these cases with individuals like Mecha Wreck. There was, of course, the Venetian rapper guy, who I like to call Venetian Raper, just for fun. A channel called Vorobi, or Vrobi, I don't know how to say his fucking name, okay? These foreign names coming over the border, okay? I don't know how to say them. But he made a really good video about Venetian rapper. It's an interesting story. Shout out Eminem.
When I say things about gay people, and people think that my lyrics are homophobic because I'm gay.
But a new story came onto my radar the other day from a creator named Monkey, a TF2 creator named Monkey. He's got 120,000 subscribers. He's made some pretty popular TF2 videos, but we're not talking about him today for positive reasons. Obviously, it's me. Instead, it's because a Twitter user named Kel published an exposed document about him. What's interesting is that just a few minutes later, Monkey himself published his own document going over his perspective and trying to refute the allegations. So what we're going to do here is start with the first document and work from there and see what we can learn. Only 15 pages and 736 words as you look at that. I'm not being tortured for once. Hey there, I'm Kel, and this is my experience with the Team Fortress 2 content creator called Monkey on YouTube. A quick disclaimer. At the time that all of this occurred, I was 16 and Monkey is 22. As I'm typing this, I'm now 17. I did not have any real interest or relationship with him or anything sexual. All I wanted to do was gather more evidence regarding him and his actions. Please do not go and harass anyone under this document. This isn't the real intention with it. So essentially, they're already coming out here and saying that they are 16, that he is 22. That's their allegation. And on top of that, they're also saying that they went into this with the intention of exposing him in the first place. They wanted to get him the entire time. The documents start. As I started to talk more with him, stuff with me and him got a little concerning. Here, he comments about the age gap regarding me and Monkey, since 16 is a legal age in Sweden. But I don't think that's how it really works. And here they have the first screenshot of Monkey saying, "I'm sorry, I'm such a freaking shit person. I'd love to just be with you and hug you daily. You're like the girl of all time. Not gonna lie, you always bring me power and the will to do better. And I try my hardest. And I want to like just kiss your lips and pick you up. I know you're just 16, but you're legal here in Sweden and I don't give a freak." No bueno. That's no good. She says, "Just learn, understand me." He says, "And you're soon 17. And she writes, "Nobody cares if 16 is the legal age in your country. It's still very concerning and a borderline feel like age gap. It's disgusting." And I would mostly agree. I think this is a very concerning age gap. I think if you're 22, probably shouldn't be talking to a 16-year-old. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. Probably too young, probably a little too young, probably a little bit of a power imbalance there even with the ages and experience gaps and all that good stuff. I think that's probably not good to be messaging 16-year-old when you're 22. Here's him just casually calling me stuff while kissing me, keep in mind over Discord, and giving me love. Even if you were drunk, it can still be considered sexual harassment, you know? Kisses you deeply, moi, my little preciosu, precious girl. You're too precious. What if we were like alone? What would you want to do? Movies? Walks? I'd definitely like, I don't know. Why did I bring this up? I'm so sorry. Monkey is officially down bad. And as the document reads, there's more of him acting in such weird ways to a minor, including saying, "My little cutie, you're mine." I feel like absolute shit. You're just so precious to me. My little cutie, you're mine. Unless you meet someone you find attractive or whatever, I'm here to help you and talk to you. Heart, 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 heart. 6 hearts, dude. 6. Whoa. He's really giving a lot of love over here to this minor. More of him just being a very nice human individual with no bad intentions at all. Moi, 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 moi. Many hugs. I would squeeze you with my hugs. This person said that he doesn't want any minors on his DMs, by the way, so I think he's just fucking stupid from the beginning. Yeah, I mean, he can say he doesn't want any minors in his DMs, but he's got one in the DMs here, and it doesn't seem to be a friendly, platonic, cordial interaction. Seems to go a little bit above that from his perspective. Monkey says, "You're not a kid at all. A kid is like 14 to 15. 15 is the age of consent here, but 16 is the age. 16 is the age that changed everything for me. I began to understand how everything worked. Everything changed. 18, however, is when I actually got to experience the adult life, but it didn't change me that much. I want you to know that you're just so amazing. I care about you a lot. I'm glad I can be here for you, even though I'm such a fucking shit person. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I wish you found someone better than me, and you probably could, honestly, but like, you're so adorable, so innocent. I don't know why you keep talking to me at all." Here in this next DM, he seems to be describing some kind of dream he had where he says, "Teeth were knocked out, broken nose, and I realized what the fuck I've done, so we booked it. It's genuinely fucked fucked up. But in the dream, I felt good. Nobody exploits you. You're mine. Love you. And then the name. Randomly telling me that he's gotten a morning erection because why not? It's a very normal thing to say in conversation. He says, I've got a morning glory apparently. She says, question mark? He says, never mind. She says, say it. He says, it's an erection you get in the morning because your body tests if you're okay and shit. Laugh out loud. That's all. She says, oh. Here she writes more interesting love messages from him. I'd hug you so tight, like really tight. I'd never let you go. She says, can you not? He says, heart emoji. She says, type a lot. Now the messages do get a little more explicit than that, like them talking about how he wants to cuddle her naked and how the tip would be dripping. He says the tip would be dripping. Here he's asking this 16-year-old to suck on his member, to suck on his disco stick, so to speak. Here she characterizes some of these messages as sexual harassment, where he seems to be drunk. He says, I'm drunk. Ha 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 ha. Vodka. Everything is spinning. Hey. She says, okay. He says, I love you so much. She says, uh-huh. He says, like, I'm sorry. I'm such a fucking shit person. I'd love to just be with you and hug you daily. You're like the girl of all time. Not gonna lie. You always bring me power. How is she bringing you power? What do you mean power? How is the 16-year-old bringing you power? What's the power? It seems like in retrospect, maybe she zapped your power. Maybe your power went away because she posted the messages when you were 22 and she was 17 and 16. So seems like the power's gone. Always remember this, monkey. With great power comes great responsibility to not message a child. He says that she gives her the will to do better, and I try my hardest, and I want to like just kiss your lips and pick you up. I know you're just like 16, but you're legal here in Sweden. You're soon 17. You're not a kid at all. He keeps going with the pretty cringy messages about mwah mwah and all the you're so precious to me kind of stuff. But as we keep reading a little bit, it gets a little bit more weird because he kind of makes comparisons to her being like his daughter. He said, I feel bad for just responding to you and then saying I'm busy. You're just so precious and so ducking adorable. I feel like I hold responsibility, but I shouldn't, but I do. She says, I'll be less forgiving each time you do this. He says, I love you, I'm sorry. Kisses. I could cry for you. I think about you daily. You're like a daughter to me. I will try my best to just, I don't know, guide you. So obviously these interactions are on top of already her being underage. The conversation is about her being like his daughter and stuff, and comparing her to a daughter is really weird because he's openly acknowledging like, I'm a lot older than you. I basically could be like a caretaker to you. I basically could be an older brother, but despite that, I'm going to continue messaging you in this way and having these weird interactions with you and talking about sex stuff with you, which is no bueno, to say the least. Between these date frames in April, he also spent some money gifting me TF2 items as gifts, which include pricey items at value in upwards of $70 USD, which is concerning to do specifically to someone that's an underage person, seeing how you act previously. And she shows here the gifts that he was given to her. He gave her a carefully wrapped gift, a lung cancer tutorial, another carefully wrapped gift, which was apparently a strange blue Mew knife. So he's sending her a lot of personalized gifts, and she's basically saying like, you know, it's kind of weird that you're messaging me as a minor inappropriately and then also buying me gifts, seemingly in exchange for what's happening here, you know, whether it's a spoken kind of thing in the interaction that we're both acknowledging or not, it's still weird. She goes on to show through various screenshots that his Discord account is connected to his Steam account, and this is basically the same guy. So there's no question of whether this is him or not. I mean, maybe he could say he was hacked, but we'll get to his response soon. She ends by writing, best you could do with this disgusting person is block them, never engage with them ever again, and never support their content nor support them financially. And if you're reading this, monkey, I don't care about your threats if I publish this. Your life is as valuable as a stupid ant to me. I can't believe a person like this inspired me to make my personal war paints for TF2. I am truly disappointed with you, monkey. I hope you leave this community and get a real job instead of only complaining and crying like a bitch over a 17-year-old game to never come back. So she's roasting him. She's roasting him for even caring about TF2 as well. She's like, you freaking man-child. So after this was posted, a lot of people didn't know exactly how to react. I mean, they thought maybe the messages could be faked, which, I mean, is a thing to be cautious of, so I respect that perspective. I mean, you want to make sure that, you know, the stuff you're looking at is real. But the motivations of the accuser are also interesting because although they acknowledge that they are underage, they also claim that they never even wanted some kind of relationship or sexual interactions with him. They were just playing into this stuff to catch him in some kind of sting operation. Now, Monkey, having seen this, would respond less than an hour later with his own document, and it is titled non-cherry picking screenshots, basically setting it up for this idea that he's going to give greater context that could make things more understandable or clear on his end and potentially exonerate him. So we'll read this and see what he has to say. And this document, unfortunately for us, is 59 pages long, and it's like 3,700 words, so basically like half of a Turkey Tom video script right here. So prepare to suffer. Beginning on the 14th of December 2023, this girl, the name I will not mention because I respect her privacy from the public, she messaged me. I replied and she asked me how I was. I replied briefly about how I felt. I felt drained. She replied that she felt okay. Then we quickly made small talk about different topics. She became very caring after a few messages, leading me to believe she cared about how I felt. And at that time, I felt miserable. For those who do not know, I lost my little brother due to suicide around a week after my birthday. day, and then sadly passed away a couple of days later, which had me in a very terrible spot during this time, and still for many months almost to this day. And after some more small talk, I hastily told this person what had been going on, and I addressed that I was not comfortable talking with minors. However, she did not reply to this message. I went on to talk more about stuff that had happened earlier when I opened the Warpaint server. This is how we met in the first place. She felt sorry and sympathized with me, which at the time was something I found comforting. I didn't go to my friends to talk more about this topic about how I felt because I already had. She finally answered the question, saying that she was 16 years of age. The age of consent in Sweden is 15 years old, but again, I didn't think about doing anything malicious with this person at all, knowing her age. I could consider her somewhat mature to have a convo with from time to time, talking about life problems. Side note, she's 17 now. Her birthday was on the 20th of March. I later went to bed, relieved that I could talk to someone new about all of this. The drama that happened in the Warpaint server at the launch, personal problems, and some online dumb drama problems. I did not think more about this. The next day, I helped her with her Warpaint and we chit-chatted about other stuff. But fast forward to the first red flag, when she asked me to give a hug emote. I thought, why not? It's just a dumb emote, and I did not think about it too much either. Here Monkey says, that's how I see this right now. But as of right now, you're a very sweet little girl, and I feel like, I don't know what word I'm looking for, like a dad. You know I look out after you, keep you comfort whenever you need it, help you, be there for you. She said, I wouldn't mind that, with a picture of the young version of Lele from the Coffin of Andy and Lele, a game that I played on stream. In case you don't know, it's known as the incest game. Now, is there that much incest? No. Is there a small amount of incest? Well, it's heavily implied. And here Monkey says, sure, I'd be your extra dad, Lamau, hug you and kiss you goodnight and shit. He writes, my fuck up is this, and lack of better words, I said dad. I could have said bigger brother, but due to her dad and her life having been absent, and she kept coming back to that, I'd like to take on that role. She took this as a kink rather than the right implication for it. I, however, look back at this with shame. She says, so am I your daughter now? He says, I mean, I wouldn't say in that sense. I'm still a random MF on the internet, but I care about you. That's all, and I feel bad. Here he writes, to be honest, I kind of wanted to take a shower now, but it's too late. And she says, without me. And he says, another instance of her trying to lead a convo elsewhere. Now, the thing is, you can see from this conversation that she is kind of trying to lead the conversation in a more sexual direction. You can't deny that. The problem being, though, that she is still 16. He knew she was 16. He is 22. He knows his own age. I assume he didn't forget that or something. And he continued seemingly with those conversations anyway. Here she writes, if I could, I would sleep naked. He says, that's the comfiest, man, but in your own bed then, and I'll sleep on the couch. She says, sad. He says, couch is unironically the best bed. He says, ... sure, but I'll keep my clothes on. She says, so I can naked, yay. He says, yeah, sure, I guess. I don't get the hype. Laugh out loud. Just keep the covers on at all times. I got my own cover like normal. Then he writes, here's another F up. It is late, and it was the day before my brother's funeral, and I felt absolute dog shit. She asked me if she could sleep naked with me, and I said, yeah, sure, I guess. It was very late, and I was sleep deprived, which could and could not have affected the situation. However, I fucked up, and I'm still ashamed. Now, it's okay to feel bad for this guy for his brother dying. I mean, obviously, that's very sad. That is very sad. And, you know, potentially, if he was in a better mental state, he wouldn't have done something like this, but that still doesn't excuse what happened, right? A lot of people have been sad before. A lot of people have had family members pass away, and that's very tragic, but that doesn't give you free reign to do whatever you want. You're still responsible for the actions you commit during that, you know, dark, hard to get through time period. Here he says, I then stopped the conversation by saying no. She tried to tease me into saying yes, which I did at first, but she kept trying to take it a step further. She says, what if I don't cover? He says, I just will not look at all. She says, fair enough. What if I want to cuddle though? He says, what cuddle position? Tell me. That's the thing. No, please, no. She says, question mark. He said, no, keep your clothes on. She says, new, mleh. He says, I know what you want. Stop the teasing, please. So at this point in the conversations, he is pushing back on the weird comments a little bit. But if a minor is in your DM is making these kind of comments at all, you got to just like stop responding to them or block them, because you can't be having these kind of interactions with someone, you know? Even if he isn't reciprocating at this point in time yet, he still shouldn't be allowing this person to like make sexual comments about him to him directly and not just like block her or just like leave her on red or whatever, right? If he had done that, if he had just ended it here, maybe it could have been more understandable and it would have been like, okay, well, he didn't actually do anything. He was friends with her. When she started making sexual comments, he was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm pushing back. But the problem is that he kept going, because here they're talking about cuddling naked and she's saying, you let me do it, dumb. And he says, if you're in a certain mood, please don't come to me with it. But the next section title is Where I Gave Up, where he writes, a day afterwards, everything came falling. I talked myself into thinking that I could trust this girl and that she was 16, and that was okay. She was legal after all. This is what I told myself. And I trusted her that she would not tell anyone, so I let my past self do this. A complete 180 of what I said yesterday, but today I gave up on everything. You see, this is the old him. The monkey who's writing this document is the new guy, but this is the old guy, okay? It was the old me. I messaged a kid, but it was the old me. He says, I remember, you know, last night, well, I want to cuddle with you in bed all night, because after this day, I'd love to. She sends some romantic emoji drawings, and he says, and you can be in every clothing you want. Doesn't matter, anything you want. Later on that hour or so, we discussed stuff we wanted to do with each other. I will not give details, but I will say that she got what she wanted, and she was not uncomfortable during this conversation. I kept telling myself that she was legal, and the fact that we could not physically do anything together meant that all of this is okay, which it is not. This is the lowest point point in my life. I was completely depressed and I wanted and needed help, but because I had someone in my life who I cared about, I could not help myself but talk to her since she was the only one in my life that I thought felt the same pain as I did. I later broke down crying after holding it in after the funeral. That night was the first time I ever talked heavily explicit stuff with someone underage. And here she suggests that they sleep together, they cuddle together naked, and he says sure, why not. This next section he describes as the last straw, and he says second time was the day afterwards. She came to me talking about her dad and what he did. She, however, was in the mood, but I was not, and she proceeded to send an explicit gif of a girl getting effed from behind from the guy's perspective. And I guess she sent some Roblox stuff, which is why he said, is that Roblox? And she said, yeah. He says, we later shared some more explicit images with the "This is us" caption under it. I sent 2 images, which I sadly deleted a couple of days later because I realized how fucked the situation I'm in was, and I was not okay with my behavior. Since she later followed up this conversation by asking me for a picture of my penis, which I told her no to. I got pretty upset after that since she insisted that I should send her a nude photo, even though I clearly stated no. And here she is kind of insisting, like, you know, asking him to send it. And after this, he says, because she was upset, she wanted me to write a long apology, which I did because I realized that I had dug this hole deeper than I could have ever imagined because of my irrational thinking and desperation for a sliver of love. She says, okay, when you apologize properly, I won't hate you. He says, how do I apologize properly? She says, make it long and honest. He writes, I'm honest and I'm sorry about everything that's happened. I feel bad for you and want to be at your side, and I am. Even when I'm at my lowest, I'll always be here for you with wide open arms. I value you more than myself and I want to do my best to keep you comfortable. I'll be someone you can talk to, vent to, and open up to. I'll listen to everything you say and will keep you company, like how I did yesterday. I just want you to calm down at this moment and just talk to me like how we did before. I'll swim through ice cold oceans for you, climb mountains for you, and face hell itself for you. You deserve happiness, all of it, and I'm here to help you achieve that. I love you, Susie, and I seriously mean this from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't say any of this if I didn't mean it. And she says, fine, I accept your apology. I later talked to her about how I felt, how I tried pushing myself for her, and realized I could not continue. Here he says, I changed my mind about that whole ordeal and I can't live with myself doing this. I'm so sorry. She says, apologize for lying and promise you won't lie again. He says, I wanted to push myself for you, but I just couldn't. I just can't. Apparently I said the word "read" somewhere and I promised her not to say it again, but I couldn't find the message where I did. However, she didn't care about how I felt about the situation. He says, also just want to point out that I'm not mentally well too. The funeral yesterday just broke me and I just wanted to off myself. I'm so tired of life at the moment. I messaged before all of this and before the apology. After that day, I changed the way how I was slowly, so she did not notice a sudden change of behavior because I did not want things to go as far as it has now. Here he is saying that he doesn't want to do the sexual stuff anymore. She says, so I can't talk then? He says, you can't talk? She says, not now because you said no. And he says, so be it. So she's basically saying the only way she's going to have a conversation with him is if it's some kind of sexual conversation. Here in these messages, he acknowledges the age gap. He says, I'm 22. And she says, so? He says, you're underage. She says, so? He says, major age gap. She says, so? He says, I can't do it. She says, yes, you can. He says, I can, but I don't want to. She says, well, you should if you want to talk. Here he shows another DM where he says, I tried to do something that I thought would make you feel better, but you wanted more of it and I can't do it. I regret it. She said, so hard to say yes, damn. He says, I'm 22. She says, so? He says, so yes, it's really hard to say yes because you're 16. Please understand it. And she says, wow, you can't say yes to something that won't even happen. He says, I said yes to shut her up in the end. Nothing came of it other than her getting what she wanted. A couple of days have gone by and I'm slowly pushing myself away from her in these requests. I realize that she's mentally unstable and she's not good for me or anyone since she's very manipulative and will constantly try to talk you into doing stuff with her. Mentally Unstable is her name on Discord, and Mentally Unstable says, so let's cuddle. He says, I guess. She goes, is that a yes? Yes, I guess, even though I don't want to. She says, yay! And he sends a cat. That's his profile picture. He's a cat maxer, I guess. Here he says red flags, where she says, are you here? He says, yeah. She says, will it be weird that I give you a hug? Emoji. He says, a bit, yeah, but if you need to send it, go ahead. It's just an emo. The next flag is when she talked to me about checking out Zesty Jesus' Twitter, and she mentioned that there were a lot of boobs because of his commissions of Zest, and I replied, oh yeah, I mean, obviously massive honkers. And she then replied with an emote that raised some eyebrows, but yet again, I did not question it. And here we have the DM as he describes pretty accurately. Later on, she talked about her childhood and how it sucked so much, and I was concerned for her mental health and such since she told me that she was autistic. I now made this connection in my mind that reminded me of my little brother. He was 16 and autistic, and so was she. Therefore, it became a lot more personal to me, and I wanted to be there for her in case stuff becomes real. I've done this to many other friends as well. This is not an exception. However, another red flag came up. She said that she lied about her age to someone within a community, and the guy she was dating figured out that she was not 19 years of age, same as he was, leading to her being banned rightfully so from that said community. She says, some years ago, I was saying I was 19 because I was afraid of not being able to talk to a lot of people. Then I tried dating someone that was of my age, but seemed to have just been a bait to expose me. Then when I tried admitting I was of my actual age, they didn't believe me and I got banned from that community, and the guy just kept trying to bait me to come back with him. I'm afraid of that one guy to remember who I am and expose me publicly. He says, I tried to calm her down in the situation, saying something similar, that I was dating a woman a couple of years older than me when I was 16 or 17. He says, this topic is sure taboo, but this sort of behavior is normal for people. Here he writes, I've been a victim of this. Well, just when I was 16, or actually 15, whatever, 15 to 17, I lied about my age to get with women that were older than me, done that shit. So like, you're not alone in this at all. He says, need a hug. She says, please. He says, free hugs for me. Look, everything's gonna work out. He says, and here's the main reason why I could not stop talking to her. We both both opened up to each other and talked about our past traumas. And I thought it would stay this way, but it somewhat didn't. Now, there are other sexual messages they have, like him basically showing her pictures of him in his arms, showing that he goes to the gym. Here he's saying that he could snap her spine like a twig. He says he's been working out his forearms as well, and his grip is stronger and better for better lifts. Good for him for going to the gym, I guess. And the more you read throughout the entire thing, you basically get to see that she is also not an angel. She is a very manipulative person. She basically was blackmailing him to keep talking to her. I mean, in her words, she would say that she was collecting more evidence on him. He would probably say she was blackmailing him so they could continue their relationship. She was basically threatening to expose him if he stopped talking to her or stuff like that. Now, obviously, I'm not, trying to make the case that this is like a great person to be around, and his conclusion that this girl is manipulative is true. I don't think you can defend her as like a person, but at the same time, she is a 16-year-old girl. She seems mentally unwell, which doesn't excuse everything, but it does explain a lot of it. But the main problem here is that he still, as a 22-year-old, before any of this manipulative behavior occurred, decided to message this, 16-year-old girl knowingly and engage with her sexually, and that is a big problem. He ends the document by saying this person is manipulative and a danger to adults and herself and to what situations she's trying to get herself into, and then tries to play the victim whenever it benefits her. I admit to things I'm done, and I'm ashamed of the things I did. I never wanted this to reach the public because I fucked up badly, and I don't think it's fair for my entire social life to be ruined just because I did a mistake that I'll never do again. Just from the drama between her and me and all my friends, that is the only receipt I would ever need, and never any of this. I deeply apologize. But if you ever see this person in your Discord, ban her because she most likely will try to do this with other people and manipulate them into engaging in explicit conversations that people should not. She lies about her age, and she lies about her feelings about you, and she'll do anything to get you to dig into a hole so deep that she can then gain leverage over you. And that does seem to be the case from her. She does seem like a manipulative person, but once again, that doesn't really matter in terms of his behavior. The problem for him is that he decided to message an underage person who was 16 when he was 22. He knew the age, he knew exactly what was going on, and he continued regardless. And I think that's a problem, and he should be criticized for that at the very least. I mean, Jesus. Now, this person named Dawes on Twitter wrote a bit of a summary thread about it where they said, Monkey is absolutely in the wrong for how he was talking to a minor. It's disgusting and should not be tolerated. Monkey should have stopped talking to them at the first sign of the conversation leading towards inappropriate topics. A problem I see with this is Kel, a minor, is going out of their way to talk inappropriately to a content creator knowing they're an adult. Kel reached out to Monkey to try and catch a predator, inadvertently putting themselves, a minor, in danger. They directly asked Monkey for explicit pictures and sent explicit images, not of themselves, to him. None of this content should be anywhere near a minor. When Chris Hansen will be baiting someone into meeting with a minor, there was never a minor involved. Nobody was put at risk, unlike here. My point is, if you're a minor, don't do this. Do not go out of your way to put yourself in danger to try and catch a predator. I'll be making a shorter video about this topic because I believe it's important for people to talk about. Again, Monkey's actions are heinous and deployable. I do not condone Kel's actions in the slightest. Stay safe out there. But as the What Show also writes, he says it's important to note that Monkey admits to sexting and sending this person explicit images way before there was any kind of manipulation going on. And he also, in his own documents, straight up admitted it was wrong. This 22-year-old adult was regularly talking about cuddling, kissing, and railing a 16-year-old. It's disgusting. Now, a lot of people were talking about this conversation on Twitter, members of the TF2 community, and the What, kind of summarized all of their thoughts in one final statement where they said, I've read the entire document. It proves a lot of important context and tells your side of the story. However, I still find your actions deeply concerning, and both sides have plenty of proof to corroborate that. While I can't speak for the motives of the other party and can see how she engaged in very manipulative practices against you, such as threatening to end her life, ultimately, you still repeatedly engaged in wildly inappropriate behavior with a minor. Many of these inappropriate interactions happened before any manipulation even occurred, such as fantasizing about each other and sending each other explicit images. There's no context where this is justifiable. I can't help but feel disgusted at the messages I read and form my own conclusion that this situation was entirely preventable, and the responsibility was on you to shut it down, but you let it perpetuate for months. I genuinely don't want to interact with this, and I hate engaging in public drama like this, but I find this behavior predatory and it's something I can't stand for, and I hope this type of situation never happens in this space again. And that is ultimately the real takeaway here. Monkey definitely provided some interesting context, and I think that, this Kel person should be banned from any Discord server because she's, as a minor, potentially putting herself in some very dangerous, bad situations. And she definitely did that in this, entire interaction where she willingly messaged an adult and engaged sexually with him. But at the same time, the whole point of an interaction like this, when you analyze it, is that the adult is the more responsible party, right? He's 22, she's 16. He just never should have talked to her this way. It's really gross that he did, frankly. And as the What Show here noted, even before any kind of manipulation occurred, even before any kind of her threatening to end her life occurred, he was still engaging with her in a sexual manner that was very inappropriate. So yeah, that's about it for this situation. No bueno, no good, no good. 2 thumbs down, no thumbs up. No thumbs up from me. Anyway, hope you liked the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. Drop a comment down below with your thoughts, and I'll catch you all tomorrow when I do this for 10 hours. It's cool, right? I think it's good. Now, that's not the only one. There's also the bleat. There's also the kids one. Chris Tyson moment. There's also the goats one. Now, I would personally say that if we're analyzing this critically, I think the one you're really going to want to go for, if you take a look at this, is going to be the scream one. Me when I'm a gay man. Bye.